And if you are a Scottish lord, then...
I am Mickey Mouse!
How dare he?
The Indiana Jones franchise, the classic collaboration between Steven Spielberg and George Lucas that has spawned 5 movies, a TV show, comic books, novels, and countless video games. But what if I told you that one of its tentpole movies, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, was originally 2 vastly different movies that were so different from the final product, and dare I say, un-Indiana Jones-like, that it caused Lucas and Spielberg to go back to the drawing board to find a 3rd movie that would better round out the trilogy and recapture the spirit of Indiana Jones, first set up in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Let me explain. The trial and error of Indy 3 ultimately began after the release of Temple of Doom in 1984, which was criticized for its darker plot, at times extreme violence, and its racial stereotyping. While the experience left Spielberg ready to move away from the tonality set up in Doom, it left Lucas hungry for more horror. This led to the 3rd untitled Indiana Jones movie, which in its first pass-through was reportedly titled Indiana Jones and the Castle of Blood, which was eventually rewritten into Indiana Jones and the Monkey King. Despite their differing opinions of what the 3rd film should be, development of the movie pushed forward, with Diane Thomas being chosen to write the screenplay, who had previously written 1984's Romancing the Stone. However, what happened next to Indiana Jones and the Castle of Blood is both shrouded in mystery and tragedy. The fact of the matter is that not a whole lot is known about Thomas's first draft and the specifics of the story, as the script has never been leaked. What is known, however, is that the story would send Indy to a haunted castle where he would face off against supernatural foes and uncover the mysteries of the castle itself. Spielberg ultimately rejected the idea, deeming it too similar to Poltergeist, and continued the darker themes he was trying to break free from. To make matters worse, Diane Thomas tragically passed away in 1985 due to an automobile collision, and Indiana Jones and the Castle of Blood was no more. The world was robbed of both Thomas's rising star and the Indiana Jones horror movie she penned that could have been. Before the Monkey King script came to fruition, and long before Steven Spielberg's adaptation of Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park hit theaters in 1993, there was a time where our beloved archaeologist would have crossed paths with prehistoric creatures, although never receiving an official title, but referred to by some as Indiana Jones and the Lost World. This iteration was George Lucas's attempt to rectify Spielberg's qualms about another dark take on Indy. This friendlier version featured supposedly scrapped concepts from the Temple of Doom, as the film would open with Indiana Jones riding a motorcycle across the Great Wall of China, and later discovering a hidden location filled with dinosaurs. It is rumored that Marion and her father Abner would have returned in what was to be another prequel to Raiders. But alas, the Chinese government would not allow filming of such a scene to take place, and with Lucas and Spielberg's lukewarm response to the idea, another concept for Indy 3 was thrown into the wastebasket, leading directly to Indiana Jones and the Monkey King. In 1985, Chris Columbus was tapped to pen a draft of the unmade 3rd movie after proving himself on such projects such as the Gremlins and the Goonies. Unlike its previous iterations, a lot is known about the Monkey King, as the first draft of the film was leaked and is still available to read online. The film starts out by paying homage to Thomas's script. We find Indy in Scotland in 1937, investigating a set of supernatural murders at the hands of a vengeful spirit, the ghost of Baron Seamus Seagrove III. Indy would return to Marshall College empty-handed, only for his next adventure to be introduced by Marcus Brody, who serves as the catalyst for the story. Brody informs Indy about the findings of a zoologist in Africa named Claire Clark, who has come across a pygmy tribe that communicates in a language with Chinese roots and has a member who is allegedly over 200 years old, with all signs pointing to the existence of Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, a Chinese mythological figure in our world, first made popular in the 16th century novel Journey to the West. We learn that Jones has spent years of his life trying to locate the king's magical staff and his city, home to the Peaches of Immortality, this movie's version of the Holy Grail. With Claire preparing an expedition to find the city, Indy throws caution to the wind, as he is already on academic probation for abandoning his teaching duties at the university, and sets off for his adventure. However, when he sets off to Africa, the cracks of Columbus's first draft begin to show. Indy's companions in this adventure include Betsy, Indy's teaching assistant who he's been sleeping with on and off. While Jones is intent on the mission at hand, he must now look after his TA, turned lover, turned liability, who is so infatuated with him that she's stowed away with him on his journey to Africa. Dr. Claire Clark, an academic and adventurer, much like Indiana, who eventually becomes a new love interest in the movie's morally questionable love triangle. Tiki, the 200-year-old pygmy that serves as the MacGuffin for a large portion of the movie, not to mention a few other characters who help Indiana progress the story forward. As for the villains of the movie, the Nazis return, with one of them wielding a robotic rifle arm. Getting back to the adventure itself, Indy and Betsy make their way to Africa and meet up with Claire. The Nazis track the heroes through the use of mechanical bugs and capture Tiki and try to use his limited knowledge to make their way to the lost city. A large portion of the movie revolves around Indy, Claire, and Betsy trying to rescue Tiki both on land and sea. Indiana must then make a tentative alliance with a Japanese pirate named Kazuri to reach the city, and reach the city they do. But so do the Nazis, as both heroes and villains are greeted by the native tribes of the city and the sentient gorillas that occupy it. The Nazis are eventually defeated, but Indy is wounded and dies in the Garden of Life. Sun Wukong then materializes from his tomb. Described by the script as a hybrid of human and monkey, he picks one of the peaches of immortality off a tree and gives it to Indiana. Being pure of heart, the peach saves Indy, and he's restored to life. Sun Wukong then presents his shape-shifting staff to Indy, who adds it to his arsenal of adventure gear. Betsy stays with Claire to continue her education, and Indiana takes an ocean liner back to the States. The unpolished first draft was met with a second that erased Betsy from the script and made Sun Wukong the villain with the capability to reanimate the dead, and had Indy marry Claire at the end. Although location scouting had begun in Africa, both of the Monkey King scripts were rejected by Spielberg and Lucas, and so the Monkey King script was put to rest. However, some of its concepts would live on in future Indy projects. The haunted castle concept present in both Thomas's and Columbus's draft was later used in an episode of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. Moreover, the idea of a Nazi wielding a robotic arm was first brought to life in the concept for Arnold Tote in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then brought into existence with the 2009 novel Indiana Jones and the Mystery of Mount Sinai. But the fact of the matter is that in Spielberg and Lucas's pursuit of a better story, and the quality represented in the original trilogy, the Monkey King and the Castle of Blood were cast aside. The formula of an Indiana Jones movie is simple, yet delicate. Supernatural, yet grounded enough to exist in reality. The fine line between absurdity and adventure. Because of this, the two movies that almost became The Last Crusade didn't make the cut, showing that some things really do belong in a museum. Because if the movie doesn't make you feel like you've struck fortune and glory, it might just be screenplay or bust. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to turn on notifications. It really helps out the channel. And comment down below, before this video, had you heard about Indiana Jones and the Castle of Blood and Indiana Jones and the Monkey King? Moreover, would you be interested in seeing these movies on the big screen? Even if you have any lingering thoughts on the Indiana Jones franchise, comment down below, because I want to hear it. Until then, thanks for tuning in, folks. I'll see you next week.